Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the Archeryshack Shop Talk. This is number 137. I'm Jeremy.
I'm TJ.
I'm Chris.
Chris is with us today. We've been busy in the shop. We're recording this on Saturday evening, and we had two bouts of business. The morning started out, got wild, about 1 o'clock?
Kind of died off a little
Hour, maybe 2 hours of calm, then wild again till about 5:30.
Yeah.
But, y'all, I don't think you hadn't been on one before, have you?
Nope, it's first one.
Chris, y'all have seen Chris in all our videos, but I forgot he hadn't been on one of these yet. But he was here. We talked him into being on here, so we all good.
Yep.
We want to talk about broadheads. We want to talk about style of broadheads, the weight of broadheads, fixed and mechanical broadheads, what we've seen, what we've done, and we want to hear what y'all think and have seen.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive in. We did a lot of testing last year. We didn't have time today. We're going to do some more soon.
Yeah.
But from what we've seen in the videos that y'all seen, like shooting through wood, shooting into the iron buck, shooting through penetration test, I will say sometimes there is a noticeable difference between a fixed and a mechanical.
Yep. Well, the first thing we need to do is we know that the iron buck's going to destroy the broadhead. We know that right off the bat. It's just
when we first started making those videos, we got all these people commenting saying, "Oh, y'all are dumbasses. You're shooting into iron buck." We know.
Yep.
We expect that broadhead to explode.
Yep.
Which is why when that DRT didn't explode, we were like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. I mean, it was something wild.
So, I really think the new Montec. Well, it's not technically new, but the Montec M3, which is like the Montec but solid, I think it's going to stick.
Yeah, I do too.
In the iron buck, and I can't wait to try it.
Yep.
So, from our findings there, we found that like some of the mechanicals were kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying
don't shoot them or
Yeah.
anything.
But then it made me think back. If you've been in the shop, my buffalo's hanging in here that I shot. Me and Dave shot those buffaloes on the same day. He was shooting a mechanical. I was shooting a fixed blade. He had to end up making 3 total shots on his, and they probably went into the buffalo probably 10 to 12 inches. I made 1 shot with my fixed blade, and it sunk up to the fletching, and he ran 60-ish yards and died. So, like, I got to thinking back to that, and, like, I've mainly shot mechanicals in the last 10 years, but it made me rethink, like, maybe there is something to the... You know what I mean? Like, we had people coming in saying, "Hey, we went to Colorado. They wouldn't let me even shoot a mechanical out there with my elk hunt." And I was thinking, really? But then I got to thinking about the buffalo, and I'm like, well, mine died in 1 shot, and it sunk up to the fletching. His took several shots, and it was only going in 10 to 12 inches, and technically he's a longer draw and was shooting more weight than me at the time. So it kind of makes you wonder. I'm gonna shoot a fix this year. I'm going to try those M3s, but I don't know.
It's one of them. I mean, at some point, everybody has shot a fixed blade broadhead. I mean, I started out with Thunderhead and Muzzies back in the day, and then shot some interlocks, and then ended up shooting mechanicals. I like mechanicals. Now, you know, for whitetails around here, like in South Carolina, you know, we don't, if you kill one 200 pounds, it's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so, and I wonder how much draw weight, draw length, and not to say we're going to get into the heavy era topic, but how much difference does that play? Like if me and you both were shooting the G5 Mega Meats this year, which I'm going to shoot the Mega Meat, but me with a 30.5-inch draw, 65 pounds, you're running a 28, 28 and a half.
28, yep.
What poundage?
65.
Okay, so there's what, 2.5 inches of difference on draw length?
Yep.
Let's just say our airs theoretically come in within 10 grains of each other. I mean, that's not a whole lot of difference, I wouldn't say.
Yeah.
What would the penetration difference between my air and your air be? Just
I don't know.
You know, that's the biggest thing that, you know, you see all these tests out there. And I mean, we do the test too with ours through that foam out there, the penetration test, and that's off my bow.
Honestly, it's crazy though, because I never put a ton of thought into this until we did those tests, and then I started thinking, damn, some of these solid broadheads are doing a good bit better than some of these other ones. But I will say, my opinion after doing all that last year is I'm still fine with the mechanical, but I would go more toward the rear deploy mechanical versus one that's got to really swing open.
Yeah.
For example, those what's those big ones? Crap.
Those dead ringers we had out there.
Yeah, what was the name of them? I can't.
Something.
I can't even think. Extreme
Something. They was like
Anyway.
almost a 3-inch cut.
Huge, but you know, the more I think about that after we did our test, like it is taking a good bit of energy to get them blades swung open versus it just clicking back or it just already being there. So it really made me start thinking about all that. And we don't have any scientific data or whatever.
no.
We just got what we've seen out there and then what we've done. And now in real life, I can't say I've ever lost a deer around here because of the broadhead. You know what I mean? Like, and I can't think of a shot that I've made to where I've lost a deer and I've been like, damn, if I'd have been shooting a different broadhead, it would have killed it. So I'm just thinking more along the lines of maybe a bigger animal or a tougher animal than a deer. But
And that's what and even Chris. I mean, you're 29?
No, I'm 27.
Okay. So if we all three were shooting pretty much identical setups,
He's
Drag
talking
length
to-
28 and a half.
oh shit.
oh Lord. But if we're all shooting similar setup, just minus same air, same draw weight, same grain broadhead.
You're 27? I thought you were older than that.
No, I'm only 27. I was thinking about saying something about a broadhead.
But that would be where I would like to see something is what's the like on a larger animal, a little bit thicker skin, like the buffalo or elk or something like that, just to see that, because I mean, how much difference? I mean, I know there's going to be some.
I need to find. I have got it on film, but I mean it's like an old, the little, not the VHS that old of a camcorder, but the little mini cassette still on film. We filmed when we shot those buffaloes, and I had to. God, it'd take me forever to find it. It's probably at my parents' house, but thinking back to that, no joke, my arrow went slap to the fletching, and I remember Dave's. It was like his barely went in, and I was thinking, damn. And then he shot it again, and they all did the same thing. Which I mean, obviously his buffalo died, but it was a lot more of a event than mine. Just one shot, it run, fell over, done.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I started out shooting mechanicals. I didn't know the difference between them besides mechanical was at Academy. But I had a bunch of problems. I was shooting the slick trick raptor tricks, and I had a problem with the little bitty, I guess,
The little
back
band.
side of the blade that, it touches the skin, deploys the broadhead. I had a bunch of problem with those bending and not opening up. Now, could have been me, could have been a broadhead, I don't know. But in my mind, going back to that, you got something that could fail. Little screws breaking, little bitty blades bending, anything like that could cause it to fail. Why not just shoot something you know is going to do the job? Because there ain't much besides breaking the broadhead off that you can do to a fixed blade.
Agreed.
Like the M3 out there, as soon as it touches, it's cutting.
Yeah.
It makes you think about it. It really does.
And that's what kind of drove me away from mechanicals. I don't shoot them.
I mean, I still think I'm still okay, especially with around here.
Yeah.
With either way, but I just from what we tested and I seen last year on all that stuff, we were shooting through wood, shooting into foam, doing penetration tests, this, that, and other. It made me rethink some of my previous thoughts. But I think the rear deploy type of deal, some of the G5s, mostly are that way, and I think that's the way to go, because just the more you think about the thing swinging open and that sort of deal. So I'm gonna try those M3s at least to start with. and see what happens. We had a weird thing happen today. Guy comes in, his broadheads and his field tips, are hitting off. Okay, that's pretty common because a lot of people just bolt on their stuff and let her eat. So Chris ended up going out there. He got his center shot right, fooled with some top hats on that particular bow. It was a Matthews bow. Like, mixed results, I guess is the way to put it. Me and Chris could go out there and we tightened it down pretty good. The guy's kind of getting opposite of what we're getting, but it's his bow. I mean, you know what I mean? We got to get it for him. So anyway, got to give 4 thumbs up to Chris.
Yep.
He stayed out there with him and ended up, honestly, this is the easiest thing, but the last thing I would have kind of thought to do. Chris said, hell, let's take one of my arrows, screw your broadhead on it, and just see what happens. And I'll be damned if they didn't almost touch for the guy. After all this rest moving, top hat moving, doing this, doing that.
And that was after I set it back to center shot
Yeah.
perfectly.
That's
Arrow down the stabilizer.
And by the book, the spine the guy was shooting is fine.
Yeah.
But it was at 40 yards, there's for him a major difference.
At least a foot.
And then literally just swap arrows and they're touching. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like after I was in here, we had so many people. Like I was just trying to keep up with multiple people, but I kept kind of thinking, "Damn, Chris is still out there. We're gonna have to go save him," type thing. And then he came in and was like, "The arrows did it." And you cut him. What'd he go with? Like rampages
He
or
ended up
something?
going with the rampages, and that was something else that kind of struck me as weird. He was using the Victory VAP TKOs, so they had the spine alignment arrow on them and everything.
Yeah.
So I even went out there and tried to, do a little bit of what's called knock tuning and lining those spine alignments directly on the bottom of the arrow on all the arrows. And it was shooting good for me, but I think it was just the stiffness of the arrow with the weight kind of was more suited for that bow, so it was a little bit more forgiving because he did have a little bit of a torque problem going on, obviously with us being able to shoot those other arrows. But yeah, it brought him straight in. He ended up going with a 27 3/4 cut rampage carbon to carbon with 206 up front.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bow a couple years ago. Now this guy was shooting almost too weak of a spine, and that always is a problem. Not always, but most of the time, like that's a big flag. And I did it wasn't a Victory, it was a different brand, but played with knock tuning them, basically started twisting them, put them on the spine checker. That was like the first year I think we ever messed with the spine index stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, he was shooting at 60 yards out here. When I did that, his group went from like, I'm going to say a foot or 14 inches maybe, down to like a 4 to 6 inch group. And like me and him both were like, holy shit. Like that was what sold me. This is average Joe, you know what I mean? And that's what sold me a little bit on the spine index thing. But that today kind of surprised me. I mean, just literally just swapped arrows, even though his wasn't even like on the weak side, what he was shooting of the spine.
Yeah, he was shooting a basic,
Yeah.
Basic 100 grain with the regular aluminum 13 grain insert, no weight up front.
It was just crazy.
Well, we had a similar situation 2 years ago on that Matthews. The guy couldn't get it to
I remember that.
And so, I mean, we went out there and done everything. We flipped top hats, flipped the top 2 limbs, and we told him, so man, look, well, no, our last resort was flipping the top 2 limbs.
Yep.
And me and you went out there and shot it because we told him, hey, we're going to have to flip these limbs, leave it with us. You could get them grouped to the right. I was grouping to the left, but they were dadgum near, maybe 3 inches apart.
I remember that.
And he was in such a hurry to get his bow that we didn't flip the top 2 limbs. And when he called and said, I need my bow, I'm like, man, I'm the only one in the shop right now. I think it was right as we opened up and you hadn't got out here. He's like, man, I got to have it. I was like, well, it's not doing anything, it's grouping for us, but it's not what you're wanting. And it was like 2 hours later, he called back and said, whatever y'all did, he said, I'm drilling out to 80 yards, field tip broadhead and slapping arrows and cutting arrows up. And I'm like, well, I don't know what we done because we were still, me and you both was just opposite, but it was tight.
Yeah. It's crazy. And that's where I like stuff like that still intrigues me, like, and I like to learn the patterns, and that's what I guess keeps me interested in archery is like, I hate doing the same thing over and over, but when there's like a new, I don't know if you'd call problem, but something to figure out or, you know, that sort of thing. That's what I like. But sometimes it's hard because like today there's so many people through, and I honestly hate to say it, but I wouldn't have stayed out there and kept fooling with as much as Chris did. But I mean, I'm glad he did. And I know the guy is, but who would have thought just changing arrows would have done that? I mean, it is crazy. And then, so he brought it in, and then we shot it through the paper. He already had the rest like way over to the right, way too far. Set it back to center. It did bullet hole, but that's just paper right close. You know what I mean? So that's not like end of story. We talked about that last week, but that's just wild. That's just wild.
Well, every arrow reacts different too.
Yeah.
Now he did have some wobble in one of those arrows, but I tried changing the arrows too, and it still did it. So that just makes me think. You know, I know a lot of people don't like ranch fairy, and some people do, but a lot of what he says kind of makes sense. I kind of lean toward him a little bit, but I'm not as extreme as what he gets into. But the one thing he says is every arrow is going to react different to everybody. And obviously, we've seen.
Well, and I do believe going into that, if somebody's got the time and resources, if you could take every arrow, get them weighed out, before you fletch them, spine index them, and then shoot them through the paper and tweak them, and then do like all that exact stuff. I mean, we're talking hours and hours of each setup. So it's like you're not going to go to a shop and get that. It just, we got 40 bows in here waiting. We'd have, if it took 2 or 3 hours per bow to do that, we'd never get anything finished. But like at home, if you have got the time and energy to do all that, it's probably worth it. You know what I mean? Like, not that, let's just say it might take your 40-yard 3 or 4 inch group down to a 2 inch group. You know what I mean? Like small change, but probably worth it. So that's
And one thing I've seen, I do all that stuff when I buy arrows or buy another bow. I go through and I do that to every single arrow I buy. I'll knock tune all of them. I always square my arrows up, make sure my insert's in square, and I go through the whole process, make sure it's all spinning right, knock tune right, and all that mumbo jumbo. But one thing I've noticed is the Black Eagle Rampages, I've never had to change the knock on them. When I shoot them, they perfect every time.
Well, and we've talked about this. Anybody that's in the shop can hear this if they paid attention, but like we typically deal with Black Eagle Victory and some Easton stuff here. When we cut those things on our arrow saw, and I know there's different wall thicknesses, but I don't think it's that. Like some of the different arrows like bog the saw down. It don't make any sense to me, except like, so I cut some FMJs today, no problem. We take a Black Eagle Outlaw, I mean, it's like fighting the saw. Take a Victory, and it's not a Black Eagle thing, because some of the Black Eagles do it, some models do it, some don't, some Victories do it, some don't. It's like, I don't know if it's a resin in the arrow or if it's a specific carbon or what, but like that makes me wonder. I mean, I don't know, but
I agree.
We've all noticed it, because when you cut some of them, it's like, man, this thing is fighting me. But then you take, like, to me, the FMJ's, aluminum and carbon and heavy, and it ought to, like, really, if it's a saw, but them things just beep, 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 buzz through it. But then I think the Rampages buzz through it, the Carnivores buzz through it, but then like the Outlaw and a few of them, it's like pretty commonly are just like bogging it down. Like, I wonder I guess there's no way to really know, but like the differences in the exact carbon in each arrow, and like Chris said, even though it's the same arrow, they're not going to all be the exact same, because the carbon's wrapped, and where really the spine index thing comes from is at some point that wrap ends, so there's a little more carbon. It makes it stiffer on one plane than the other, and you get into a whole thing there. But
Yeah, to keep it together, it's got to overlap at some
yeah,
point.
so that just like all that stuff is intriguing.
And then you got some that are woven. I guess it's just all in how it's technically made.
Yeah.
So.
But I've noticed, I used to shoot the rip TKOs a little bit. I noticed that there's two different spines on those arrows that's noticeable. Like you can go off their spine index that's on the arrow, but you turn it a little bit more and you actually see a difference. Like it might be, I don't know if there's two different styles. I've heard of static and dynamic. I don't really know what that is.
And I've took the Victory arrows, and about, I'm going to say 80% of them are on that mark they put, but about 20% of them are off. So I don't know how their machine checks it and does all that. So, I mean, I put a little bit of confidence in that mark, but I never use it as like a selling point because I don't trust it enough. But it is close on most of them. But if you really get to the machine and all, it's sometimes a little.
I almost wonder if they put that on there as that's where they start the wrap process.
I don't know.
Or
I'd love to see like the process. I mean, I know they wouldn't show it because then somebody else could do it, but I'd love to see how they figure that out.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's pretty close. Like I say, 80% of the time, and then 20%. I've had some way off, but not a ton. I don't know. It's probably good that they're at least trying. So I wonder other companies hadn't started doing it.
Yeah.
But then like the higher grade the arrow, the harder it is to find that spot. Like you can take an X Impact Black Eagle, and it takes a little bit of finagling because it's like it must be some real fine carbon and this, that, and other. But you can take a whatever, Outlaw or whatever, and usually it's a big, difference. But I guess all that comes into play with how broadheads fly, and I don't know. We talked about it last week a little bit, but with these bows, they got so much let off, just the slightest little bit of grip stuff makes things go crazy. And then according to the broadhead, it might be a lot of drag on the front trying to steer the arrow, and you already got it coming out crazy. So it's pretty wild. What anybody watching, and I don't want you to have to type a paragraph, but like, has anybody watching, have you had like I guess basically a fixed blade versus a mechanical story that you could type in and not have to spend 30 minutes typing? I'd be curious to hear it, if one way or the other, you know what I mean? Because I remember when mechanicals came out, and I'm awful about doing this, but a new product comes out and I'm like, yeah, that's junk, but then it turns out to be a great product. For example, the Whisker Biscuit. I remember when it came out, I talked trash for a year, and then everybody wanted them, and I'm like, dang, this thing because I was used back then to having spring tension and all that on the wrist, and I'm like, this thing will paper tune, your air don't fall out. Okay, I'm all in, but there's been so many products that way, and I hate that I'm that way. It's just I get stuck in my thinking in ways, and something new comes out. Even the limb-driven rest, I'm like, ain't no way I want a cord going to my limb. What turns out is all of them basically are easy to tune, and so I don't know.
And what was it that we was hit? There was something that had come out. Me and you both had looked at it and we're like, I don't know about this, but it turned out to be the hottest ticket item the other year. I can't remember what it was. I don't even remember what it was, but it was something where like,
I'm always so scared as far as like buying for the shop, like those digital sites. They came out and we were all like, ooh, ah. And I thought this is going to be one of them deals because they're almost $400. We love them, and everybody's going to be like, that's too much money. But we sold out of them. So I got to get some more, hopefully, very quickly. But anyway.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, just some of the stuff like broadhead. We've been talking about broadheads. I mean, I think this year, we've actually sold more fixed blades than we have mechanical so far.
Well, last year on the DRT broadhead test, it stuck in our iron buck. I mean, it was in there, and it didn't really hurt the broadhead that bad. You can look at that video. I'll try to remember to put it in the description, but it stuck with me so much. I mean, every person that's coming in, I'm bringing it up on my phone, like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, and TJ's showing them the broadhead, and like, we're selling the fool out of them. The only thing, if you want to call it bad, we found with that is there's a little bit of noise with that DRT, like not a whistling, but just a little noisier than some other broadheads. Not a huge deal, but it's there.
I just wonder if that's going to be with any kind of like vented, I guess you can say, instead of solid.
I'm sure. And that's why I'm interested in those M3s this year. But like certain things like that, I'm just like, this is the holy grail. I mean, it's stuck in a freaking piece of steel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the fixed blades are kind of
Popular.
Yeah, popular now, which I like the dead meat and the mega meat and all that stuff as well. Last year, the Grim Reaper kind of hurt my heart a little bit because I really like Grim Reapers, and they didn't, like, it wasn't a complete fail on those tests, but they didn't perform like I thought they were going to perform. And we've both shot deer with Grim Reapers and hadn't had any trouble, but I thought they were going to do a little bit better. Nothing against the Grim Reaper, but.
No, I still got 2 of them in the quiver that when hunting season comes around, I will have them in there. I mean, and it's one of them too. I think, and this is going to sound weird, but I think a lot of people get hung up on this. And your mechanicals is that bigger cut in diameter.
Yeah.
They see a 2-inch cut in diameter and like, holy smoke. And, that's fine and dandy. I mean, I kind of like that big number too. But on a fixed blade, I don't even remember the max cut diameter on one. They're 1 inch and 3/8 maybe.
There's bigger. I just don't know what the absolutely biggest is.
I can't either.
I hadn't really looked lately.
I hadn't either. If you've got, let us know in the comments because I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think the DRT is an inch and an eighth.
There's a lot of inch and 16ths and 8ths and a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And then I set up those iron wheels the other week. They look good.
They did.
We've messed with them a little bit. I've never shot them personally. Part of me is like, that's a lot of money, but they are built well.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I've been rolling with those Magnus buzz cuts.
Those were very popular.
Last couple of years, and I have no issues with them at all. And I've sharpened one of them up 3 different times. I killed 4 deer last year with them, straight pass-throughs at 25 yards.
Yeah.
Arrow sticking in the dirt on the other side. None of the 4. I think one went 20 yards. The other 3 were landing, 10, 15 yards from where I shot them. So that's kind of what drove me away from that big cut because Magnus. I think it's like 5/8 inch cut. I mean, it ain't a whole lot, but like I said, 20-yard track job on 4 deer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see a reason to have a bigger cut.
Sometimes I feel like I get caught up too much on specs and on stuff in the shop and not enough on like real world stuff. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, when we did all them tests through the wood last year, the wood was what I really looked at because it's like, if it could make it through this piece of wood and not completely explode, and that's a pretty big deal.
I don't think we had any go through the wood and explode, did we?
We had, seems like a couple didn't like completely come apart, but wasn't so hot. I'd have to look back at all of them. We did so many.
Yeah.
I want to say the Grim Reaper, the 3-blade.
Did one of them lose a blade?
One of them broke a blade or bent. It's up there in the box.
I want to say it just bent, like rolled over instead of a straight blade.
But yeah, the broadhead. I mean, I don't have a problem with really any broadhead around here.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like say, when people come in and they're like, "Listen, they sit at my elk camp or whatever, no mechanicals," and somebody even had like an approved list of about 12, and I was like, "That's pretty strong."
Yeah.
That they're saying you ain't shooting, so stuff like that, and then, like say, it makes me think back to the buffalo hunt of how his didn't really go in that far. I remember even then being like kind of like, holy shit, that didn't stick in very far. And then he shot it the second time, and all that, and it was the same result. And I was like,
Well, as long as you have the right arrows set up, if you want a fixed blade, go a little bit over spine on the arrow instead of trying to be exact.
I agree.
And you can get any fixed blade broadhead to tune, even if it's got a little bit of wobble in it. You can get it within an inch or two of the field tip.
Well, and then you can get into like, sometimes if they got wobble, most inserts have the teeniest bit of play in them, so you could use like an epoxy, put the broadhead on it, spin it before it sets, and get everything perfect, that sort of thing. Because I've seen, different manufacturers' inserts are different, but some of them fit super snug, and some of them have that little bit of slop to them, and like that. Sometimes I think stuff has a wobble, and it's more in the insert arrow deal than the broadhead.
Yeah.
But then I remember like Muzzy used to be bad back in the day because it had it's got the coarse thread on the front. You could spin them things, and some of them tips would just wobble like crazy. But anyway, let us know what y'all have experienced. I thought this would be a good chat, broadhead chat, but I'm not. There's nothing that I'm like completely against on broadheads.
No, me neither.
But there's very strong opinions. People come in, and I almost once. This has been, God, what year is this? This is about 20 years ago, but I almost seen a fight go down when we was at Bucks and Bass. One guy was shooting mechanicals. One guy only shot fixed. And it was weird because one guy I had behind the counter, and I was fletching his arrows, and he was sitting there talking to me. Another guy, I knew both of them real well. They they just lock heads, and one of them's screaming, "I shot a GD elk, you can't tell me." And like, I thought they were really about to fight, and some other people that worked there came like over there like, "Oh shit." And one guy left mad as hell, and I called him later. I'm like, "Dude, calm it. It's just a broadhead. Just calm it down." But people are very opinionated on this stuff. So,
and everybody has a personal, and that's like when we do these tests or we talk about something, we always put it out there. This is just our opinion. If I don't like something and Jeremy likes it, I'm not going to sit here and bash him or Chris. I'm not going to bash neither one of them. That's just something that I like.
Well, and we heard it more this week. People from and I don't want to talk bad about, I'm not going to name them, any of the other shops in our area, but like, is a lot of archery shops talking shit about people's setups and arrow selection and broadheads and whatever. And I mean, like, if there's something obviously wrong, like, hey, you've got that broadhead put together wrong, or hey, that something like major wrong, we'll point it out.
Too weak of a spine in that arrow.
But we're not going to say, hey, why are you shooting whatever broadhead or whatever arrow? Those are pieces of shit. You need to buy what we got. We'll never do that. And never have. But man, we hear it every week that other shops are doing it, and that still blows my mind. Anyway,
I've had a few in particular tell me that I was crazy for shooting. I'm kind of on the up end from y'all. I shoot a 586 on my arrow. I know y'all are a little lighter. But I've had some shops tell me I was crazy. I didn't need to shoot nothing like that because I was just wasting energy.
Yep.
Well, and now the norm that I've seen in the shop is everybody's wanting to be around that 550 range now. And
I don't think that's a crazy number.
I don't either.
My main thing with it is I don't care if it's a 350 grain arrow or an 800 grain arrow. In my opinion, if you're going to have the weight, put the weight up front. That's what I've seen make a difference.
Yeah.
I shot a 445 in the RIP TKOs, but I had 200 up front.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of cool for just an example, like the carnivore. You can take a light carnivore, but go over spine, but put a little weight up front and give it some extra FOC. And, it's kind of neat that way. And that's what that's a whole nother topic of like FOC and this, that, and the other. But I've done that a lot for people. Is took a carnivore, let's say they're a 350 spine, put them in a 3 or a 250, put like a 50 or 75 weight in the back of the insert, and then it runs that FOC up a little bit. Nothing crazy, but it gives them another 50, 75 grains. They can still shoot 100 grain, usual broadhead like they've been shooting, and it just changes up their stuff a little bit. But
Yeah.
And that's the way I like doing it because it keeps your broadhead smaller, keeps less wind drift and all that good stuff, but still gives you the FSC. I'm a big FSC guy.
the what are those little broadheads? The
Annihilators.
Annihilators.
Yep.
Like they're a tough little booger. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of a neat concept.
Mm-hmm.
And even like the Exodus, they're smaller. What did I was trying to think of what back in Bucks and Bass days, there was a little one that came out. I feel like Trophy Ridge made it, but that would have been, we're knocking on 20 years ago, but it was a mean little broadhead.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's the whole can of worms. Let us know in the comments your thoughts, your experiences. Like I say, I don't want you to have to type in a book, but I'm just curious of what y'all have seen, heard, and had happen to you. But we'll get off here. If you need a set of strings from us, archeryshackstrings.com. Use the code podcast15 to get 15% off. We're a little bit backed up. This is, what are we in? Middle of August 2022. This time of the year we get a little bit backed up around 2 weeks or maybe just a teeny bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But in the next month it'll calm down a little bit. But if you need strings, we've had a lot of calls and emails lately about shipping in bows. And basically, you can go to that same website, archeryshackstrings.com, click on Super Tune or Custom Tune or whatever it's under, and it's designed where you just tell us what color strings and all you want, ship us your bow with at least one arrow, we restring it, tune it, do the whole 9 yards, and that price includes us shipping it back to you. I mean, if you got a good local shop, definitely use them, but we started doing that a couple years ago because so many people were calling, hey, I don't have a guy anywhere near me or whatever, so I wouldn't consider us that we get a ton of those in, but we get this time of the year, a few people shipping them in, and Ravens, so you can ship your Raven in because a lot of people don't have a Raven press. But anyway, just let us know if you need anything. And if it takes a little extra time for us to respond, don't kill us because it's been, it's literally like we opened the door. It was 30 minutes before we opened this morning, people started showing up.
Yeah.
And this time of the year, it's like I was out here till right at 1 o'clock last night just trying to get a few things ready and done and cleaned up for this morning. So don't kill us if it takes a little extra time to get back to you. Or if we don't respond, hit us up again.
Yep.
But let us know what else you'd like to hear us talk about. Maybe we can, during the busy season, Chris is here a lot on Saturdays. Maybe we can get Chris back on here in the next week or next week. And we'll go from there. But, yeah, we enjoy doing these things. Last week, the paper tuning one, for whatever reason, exploded. I guess YouTube probably suggested it to some people, but it went to a couple thousand views like in a day or so, and we were like, holy crap. So we'll keep doing what we can do.
And if there's some kind of like topic that you want us to talk about, drop it in the comment, whether it be some type of tuning, or a particular arrow, which broadhead, release, whatever, or just if you want us to talk about hunting or whatever, just leave us a comment and tell us what you want us to talk about.
We'll do it. Thank you for being on here with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for helping us in the shop.
Thank y'all for having me.
Bobby left before we started recording, but he did a hell of a job today. Bobby ended up selling 2 bows. Bobby's a sleeper.
Yeah.
I feel like people were coming in and we grabbing them, and then Bobby'd be over and be like, I just sold another one. I'm like, to who? Who'd you sell it to? And then, but anyway, he, old Bobby, I think his back was hurting him, so he rolled out
Yeah.
a little bit ago. But anyway, we'll get him on here too soon. But y'all let us know what you want us to talk about. We're going to get off here.
Yep.
Y'all have a good one.
See y'all next time.
See ya.
Thank you for watching.